Hello and welcome. We are here at Public Media Network. For tonight's show, we have our special guest from Kalamazoo Aviation History Museum, the Air Zoo local nonprofit here in Kalamazoo. Please stick around. We will be right back. Hello, my name is Svetlana Stone. You are watching Spotlight in a Zoo. Thank you for being here. We are pleased to have Troy and Nikki here tonight to talk about the importance of their organization. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Nikki and Troy. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to have you here. The Kalamazoo Aviation History Museum is a world-class museum and a great place to take the entire family. And I would like to start with you, Troy.
Yes.
Can you please share with us a little background and how you become involved with Air Zoo?
Sure. So the Air Zoo now has been around for 39 years. So it was actually formed and started in 1979, and it has had an amazing trajectory, and I was lucky to intersect with that trajectory about 5.5 years ago. So my personal background, I have a degree in astrophysics, and I used to work on NASA's Hubble Space Telescope and did a lot of great things in the space industry, working with rockets and satellites for Lockheed and Boeing. But I've always been very passionate about showing kids just the marvels of science and technology and giving them opportunities to fall in love with science and technology and showing them some really amazing careers. And so I had worked across the country helping the aerospace industry develop their workforce. And what I found there was the regions that were doing it best had a museum or a science center that could really educate and inspire kids differently than they could be in schools. And so right before coming to the Air Zoo, I was the CEO of the Da Vinci Science Center, where we turned that museum science center into what became a world-class institution for technical workforce development. And then I heard about the Air Zoo, and I was so excited. The first time I walked through that cloud tunnel, I knew that there had an amazing foundation, but there was really so much more we can do in terms of education and inspiration for our kids here in Southwest Michigan, and it has been an amazing almost 6 years for me.
This is wonderful and inspiring that our kids in Kalamazoo have this wonderful opportunity. And the same question to you, Nikki. Please share with us your journey with Air Zoo.
I have a much shorter journey with Air Zoo. I came on board in June as the Director of Marketing, and it's been a lot of fun, almost 3.5 months. I've learned a lot. I still have a lot to go, and I love it. It's probably one of the best places I've ever been. So.
This is wonderful that you can join this wonderful organization. And Troy, I would like to ask you about Air Zoo. What makes Air Zoo unique? Is it educational program that you just mentioned or restoration project? Would you please tell us more about this?
Can I cheat and say all of the above and more?
Sure, whatever, how you feel. Our viewers would be really glad to see.
Yeah, so we really began as an airplane museum. In fact, the name Air Zoo came to play because the first 5 airplanes in our collection were all named after animals. And so things like the flying tiger, the wildcat, a bearcat, and also, of course, it is a play on Kalamazoo as well. And so we really began and then grew as an airplane museum. But there was a recognition very early on that there was a certain group of people who loved airplanes. Then there was a certain group of people who loved theme park attractions, but maybe didn't know that they could fall in love with aviation and space. And so as the Air Zoo grew, it really began to transform into more of a theme park family experience. So one of the first true differentiators became all of the really cool rides that we have. So we have amusement park rides, we have flight simulators, kids and adults can come in and they can ride balloon rides around, so lots of fun there, all of course around the theme of aviation and space, but really going beyond just the passive learning of looking and reading about airplanes. Soon we expanded even more. Now we have a very large space area as well. We have an incredible restoration team that I know we're going to be talking about more, but right now we are restoring 2 World War II aircraft, both of which have been on the bottom of Lake Michigan for 65 years each. And the Navy has entrusted these airplanes to us. And what makes this even more unique is that there are other groups around the country that are restoring things like this, but we're doing it right on our exhibit floor. And we're not only inviting our public guests and our schools to come see it and interact with our restoration volunteers, but they can come and work on these airplanes themselves. It is the best hands-on experience you can get. And that is really leads into the final piece of what makes us really unique, is over the last 5 years, we've developed over 100 hands-on inquiry-based education programs, not just aviation and space, but geology, astronomy, physics, chemistry, biology. So when kids come on a field trip, they not only get to see all of the amazing artifacts and airplanes and such that we have, but they're going to come in and they're going to learn science in a very different way. They're going to become scientists, because for us, the greatest value we can provide is to give every child the opportunity to fall in love with math and science and all the technology of these airplanes with their hands and their minds and their hearts, and show them that if they really love this stuff, there are some amazing careers right here in Southwest Michigan. So that's what makes us unique.
This is very amazing that our children and other people can see the restoration process right at the Air Zoo. This is wonderful. Nikki, what kind of events does the Air Zoo hold throughout the year?
We have lots of events. We are very proud to host several different educational programs. So we have scouting camps, homeschool discovery days, very extensive field trip guide for local teachers and educators. We have summer camps, spring camps, winter camps, and then we also have some other special activities throughout the year that are still education based, but a little bit more geared towards the adults, like our Science and Innovation Hall of Fame Gala, and help me out here, there's a lot of them.
Well, that's certainly our big one, our Science Innovation Hall of Fame, and where we honor Michigan individuals who have done amazing things in aviation and space, but then also local teachers who are teaching science and technology in a very different, inspirational, hands-on way, and also local students who go beyond just getting good grades in math and science, but are really showing, perhaps inspiring other younger kids to fall in love with math and science, doing some really creative science experiments and things outside of the classroom. And so, yeah, so that's our big event.
This is wonderful. If there's any events would you like to promote and tell to our viewers, so that's going to happen soon and you would like to tell about this right now?
They kind of are scattered throughout the entire year. If you're interested, I think the best thing to do is just check out the calendar on the website and see what is applicable to you and your family.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. I believe we learned so much, and we are going to talk more about Air Zoo right after the short break.
Girl Scouts do more than sell cookies and do arts and crafts. Here's what we do.
Every year we go to Thinking Day, which is where we learn and celebrate new countries and cultures. As Girl Scouts, we can go on many adventures which allow us to go to new places, meet new people, and allow us to make the world a better place. As Girl Scouts, we learn new skills that will help us later in life, like babysitting, cooking, mentoring, and much more.
We can earn our awards by serving our community to make the world a better place.
So, if you want to contact your local Girl Scout office,
click the link down below. Ooh!
Ooh!
Welcome back to Spotlight in a Zoo. For those of you who just tuned in, we are here at Public Media Network with Troy and Danny from Air Zoo. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate your time and chatting with us about your organizations. And Troy, I would like to ask you, could you please tell us about the volunteer impact?
The volunteer impact is, I really can't possibly quantify it, except to say, without our volunteers, the Air Zoo couldn't do 1/10 of what we do. We have a force, a literal force of about 250 volunteers that really interact with our staff and interact with our guests throughout the entire Air Zoo. From the moment people come in, they are greeted with a warm smile. We've got some incredibly knowledgeable docents, and this guy right here is certainly at the head of the pack here, who are just, they are amazing. When people come in and they want a particular experience, they want to know about a certain airplane, or they want to know about just the history of innovation of all the airplanes that we have. The docents are incredible. We have a team of 75 restoration volunteers that every day are coming in to work on these incredible airplanes, some of which are our own, and then of course we have those that were on the bottom of Lake Michigan for almost 7 decades, and everywhere in between. It is incredible. The volunteers themselves, and then ultimately this entire community of volunteerism. So it really isn't just the Air Zoo. I know that there is a large number of organizations here that would say, without our volunteers, we can't do what we do.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful to hear that so many people volunteer their time and energy and skills to this organization. This is wonderful. Danny, could you please tell us about your volunteers, what they add to experience and how valuable they are?
As far as my experiences, it's invaluable. I meet so many interesting people every day that I volunteer there. In the restoration, since I know a little bit about the aircrafts, I can take them in and I can explain what we're doing to these airplanes and getting them ready for exhibit in another home. And as far as in the main building, I mostly just go around and ask people if they need any questions asked, or can I take you around? And it can be a 45-minute tour, it can be a 3.5-hour tour. I love the 3.5-hour because then I get to know my people, my guests, and we become very good friends most of the time during this 3.5-hour tour. And I don't dwell on a lot of the engine horsepowers and so forth. I like to try telling stories about that particular aircraft, what it did in its life out in the air. And they seem to be more relaxed when you're just casually telling them about different things. And granted, we have a couple of airplanes that are very interesting in horsepower. For instance, the SR-71 is about 16,000 horsepower. It goes just under 2,000 miles per hour. That, you want to brag on that. and that it heats up to 900 degrees in areas of that aircraft that expands up to 6, 7 inches, 8 inches. People don't know that, and they walk out of there, my gosh, I had no idea. It's just amazing that this is in Kalamazoo. This is here. And I can tell you how many times that people from Portage, from Kalamazoo, from the west side, east, I've been here all my life, and this is the first time, and why wasn't I here before this? This is so impressive. And the mural out there is there are hidden games in the mural. The picture actually moves as you walk by it. Heads turn as you walk by. It's just so neat to show people in there. Wow, there's ghosts here, or whatever. But yeah, and I enjoy it. I've been there going on 8 years, and every day I look forward. My wife says, you might as well sleep down there. So
this is wonderful. I see that you brought a lot of props for our sets. Could you please share with our viewers what it is?
Absolutely.
And the history behind it or story behind it?
Yes.
It would be interesting for our viewers to see all this.
Absolutely. So we talk about the airplanes as artifacts, but we have a collection of about 80,000 military aviation and space artifacts that we have in a large archive, but we like to bring out onto the floor to really augment some really cool exhibits. So I brought a few spacey artifacts with me today that are very unique, and some of these we actually also like to use in the classroom to teach kids. So this one is very, it is amazing. So these are two flags that actually flew on the Space Shuttle Challenger, which crashed in 1986. This was part of the media kit that actually flew, and you can see here the actual patch, and these are the 7 astronauts who perished on January 28th of 1986. But so these flags really are one of a kind, and we have so many one of a kind historical pieces at the Air Zoo. But as Denny said, it isn't just the things themselves, it is the stories behind them that are so powerful for our guests. So some of the other spacey things here, we have a boot and a glove that have both flown into space, and we use these actually in the classroom. You may see them, you may touch them, and what is amazing about these is for so many kids who come to the Air Zoo, they really have no idea just about the magnitude of anything going to space. So the idea that they can try on a glove, and we encourage them to ask questions. For example, we ask them, why do you think the tips of these fingers here are this very kind of thick rubber? And of course the idea is because when astronauts are out in space, when they drop something, it doesn't just fall to the floor in zero gravity, it could float away. So they have to be sure that they can really hold on to things. And even the boot has a very hard bottom. Yeah. And so, we ask the questions, why is that? So that's what these are really about. And if we have time, do you want to get into some of these pieces as well?
Sure, you can share with us.
Okay, so I mentioned that we're working on 2 airplanes that were on the bottom of Lake Michigan for 65 years each. And so I'll show you a piece of one of them right here. So this is actually the windscreen of an SBD Dauntless dive bomber that served at Pearl Harbor in World War II. And it also fought in a significant battle, the Battle of the Coral Sea. So we are restoring this airplane for the Navy. And when we're done, it's going to go back to Pearl Harbor at the Pacific Aviation Museum. And we talked about what is unique. What is unique about how we're doing this is we have had hundreds of people, public visitors, school groups, come and help us work on these airplanes. And so when this airplane goes back to the Pacific Aviation Museum, it's going to go back with a plaque that says this airplane was restored at the Air Zoo in Kalamazoo by the entire Southwest Michigan community. And every single person who touched this, maybe did a little sanding or a little cleaning or popped some rivets or turned some screws, their name is going to be on this plaque. Again, this is hands-on education, it is history, it is science, it is technology, and this is how we want to teach and inspire our entire community. And so just a few other pieces here. This is from an FM2 Wildcat. You can see being down on the bottom of Lake Michigan for 65 years can do some damage to some parts. So this here is an aluminum intake, and this airplane was down on the bottom of the lake 200 feet below lake level. And you can see, because of all the muscles that have attached to the airplane, you can see the major corrosion that has happened to this aluminum here. What's very different is we also have some steel pieces. This is the tail hook here. So this is the thing right here that catches the wire that allows an airplane to land on an aircraft carrier. So this was made of steel. Now you can see right here there was not a lot of damage done at all to the steel versus the aluminum. So these are some of the challenges that our restoration team has to overcome in what for this is going to be about a 7 or 8 year project.
How old it is?
This airplane was actually built in 1942. Wow.
Yes, and it crashed into Lake Michigan in 1944. This particular
This is
one was, it was
amazing.
actually December 28th of 1944 that it crashed into Lake Michigan. So it has been now 74 years. And so we still have a lot of work to do. It's still going to be a few more years to get this done. But it is just amazing, this idea that the Navy has entrusted us to restore these historic airplanes to their former glory for tens and hundreds of thousands of people to be inspired by and to learn from in the future.
This is a wonderful story. This has been a great show. Stick with us. We will be right back.
I need a cup of coffee. Good mess.
Thank you, Danny and Troy, for being here with us today. I really enjoy getting to learn about your organization, about you, and what you have done for the community. This is wonderful. If there is anything else you would like to say, something that we missed and you would like to share with our viewers.
Well, certainly when we think about our highest calling at the Air Zoo, we've got these great education programs, the restoration program. We have over 100 airplanes and spacecraft. During the summer, we actually give people flights in open cockpit airplanes to be able to see the community in a very different way. Lots of work with veterans, and all of these great programs, ultimately, we see our end game as with companies like Stryker and Pfizer and Eaton and Parker Aerospace here. The best thing that we can do is to keep these companies here and help them grow by inspiring their future workforce. They're the kids who are right now in 5th grade who have to start making decisions on the math and the science that they want to study. The kids who are in 3rd grade right now who have to really feel like they can do math and science. The kids in kindergarten right now who almost 3/4 of them, the jobs that they're going to have don't even exist today. So we see our greatest work in inspiring these kids to fall in love with science and technology, and then show them the pathways to those great careers at those companies. And we're talking about 2-year schools, the 4-year schools here. These kids can grow up here, they can go to school here, they can get incredible jobs here where they will be inventing the future for all of us to really improve the socioeconomic fabric of life here in Southwest Michigan. And if we can play a part in that every day, then we feel like we win.
This is great. This is wonderful to see so much patient people. Thank you so much. Well, this will wrap up this month's edition of Spotlight in a Zoo. If you want to know more about our friends from Air Zoo, please see this information below. And in addition, if you know someone or would like to participate in our show, please contact with Public Media Network. Thank you so much for watching us. See you next time.